Coming up on QUTV News this week, we'll tell you how you can watch TV on campus again.
And find out who is not allowed to participate in a homecoming tradition this year.
Plus, we'll share the latest details concerning the gas odor incidents in a freshman dorm. Hello and welcome to QUTV News this week. I'm Adam Meyer.
And I'm Quincy Feeney. We begin with a breaking news update from Gardner Hall.
We now know what caused the multiple reports of a gas odor inside a dorm.
Officials are finally piecing together what happened and are working on a solution. QUTV's Abigail Moore has the latest details from Gardner Hall.
Last month, students living in Gardner Hall were evacuated from the building 3 separate times for a small gas leak and company of a gas odor that overwhelmed the surrounding area of the building. Since then, the administration has been working with Ameren to replace some systems to prevent this situation from happening a 4th time.
We need to upgrade our water heater, which is one of the problems we've had in that building that we wanted to upgrade. So we're in the process of getting new quotes and replacing that equipment.
The gas lines under the ground will also be replaced. The pipes are 4 inches around, cast iron and oversized.
We don't need that much gas coming to our buildings anymore. So now we're going down to a 1-inch line that will provide enough gas to run the units that we have in those buildings.
The replacement will be more energy efficient and prevent problems in the future. Underneath this sidewalk that students from Garner and Woods Hall walk daily are pipes that are connected to a water heater that date back to the 1950s. Director of Facilities Randy Johnson says that these pipes are expected to be replaced within the next 4 to 6 weeks. In the meantime, administration deemed security responsible for checking the meter every night.
We had a flow chart that we filled out. The time, the officer, was there an odor detected, and the date, and that was all documented, and that document has been saved.
Johnson says the replacement will be an expensive fix, but the university is on board. Abigail Moore, QUTV News, Quincy.
Quincy University is growing in numbers. Now, the 2018 freshman class increased by 11%. Overall, that's more than 1,100 new faces on campus. Now, the number of graduate students at QU also increased by 20% this year. Out of the incoming freshman class, only 60% of them are men, while the other are less than half are women.
Good news for students living on campus. You can now watch TV in your dorms again. QU partnered with Comcast Xfinity to bring all of your favorite shows to your devices. To sign up for free, you can go to the IT Help Desk in Francis Hall, room 134. Besides streaming on campus, the service allows you to watch shows from your personal DVR. And you can even access a limited number of channels off campus. If you have questions or concerns, more information is available at the IT Help Desk. Happy streaming.
This is a midterm election year, and Quincy University students took part in an event that focused on the importance of voting. Here's a closer look. What does this little book have to do with your rights here at Quincy University? Mandatory voting was the topic of discussion at this year's Constitution Day. Students discussed the pros and cons and discussed their thoughts.
What are our civic duties, the things that we as citizens need to perform to keep our system going, and our individual liberties. A lot of people like the idea that they don't have to vote.
Now, this year, the amount of students that showed up was just less than when topics of gun policies and legalizing marijuana were discussed last year.
I know it's a hypothetical forum. We don't get any power out of it, but it is, I think, an important glimpse into what maybe community life could look like if we were more engaged.
This event is another way for students who do not live in Illinois to learn more about the state that they go to school in. And it is also another great way to hear the points of view of others.
I think it's a cool experience, really interesting to see everyone's opinions and views on mandatory voting.
You can exercise your right to vote on November 6th for midterm elections.
Coming up, hear from our QUTV social media correspondent as she highlights events from homecoming week.
And we'll tell you why an annual homecoming tradition was deflated. Don't go away. Welcome back, and joining us now for the QTV's own Media Minute is Madison Badgley.
Madison, thanks for joining us. Can you give us some highlights from homecoming week?
Thank you for having me. If you missed the Powder Puff game, don't worry because we've got you covered. Highlights from that event are coming up next. But as for the annual balloon glow, it sadly did not go as planned this year. QUTV's Abigail Moore has the details.
QUTV reporter here, Abigail Moore, live at the QU Homecoming Balloon Glow. As you can see behind me, there are not balloons in the air, and that is because the balloons cannot go up when it is more than 10 miles an hour of wind in the air, and currently it is 11 miles per hour of wind in the air.
But here's a picture we were able to capture before the wind picked up. And that's all for your social media minute. Remember to follow us on all our social media platforms and to tell us what stories you want us to cover around campus.
Madison, thank you so much for joining us on this afternoon.
And speaking of homecoming, football games looked a little different at the Rock because of the second annual Homecoming Powder Puff football game. The QU Student Government Association organized this event hoping to promote school spirit.
Teams to your sideline. Conference call.
2 teams were chosen during a draft. QU football players coached those teams.
It's competitive. Get the girls to do something that they don't normally do all the time. So it's just something fun.
The teams got there early to practice throwing and to go over plays.
Definitely may have gotten a little aggressive here and there, but I mean, it's a sport of football. You kind of get a little heated sometimes, but all good and fun.
A lot of students came out to watch the game, including some student athletes who weren't able to play.
I honestly wish we could participate. It'd be really fun. There's a lot of girls that participated, but not as many as we should have on campus.
There were about 30 participants this year, rather than the 20 they had last year. Fans got to enjoy halftime entertainment by the Manettes. The Manettes are an all-male dance team.
Get out there, get involved, do all the homecoming prep stuff.
The black team won 49-35 over the yellow team. SGA plans to continue this tradition for years to come.
Quincy University launches 2018 to 2019 QU Fund event. Now this year's goal is to raise $1.1 million. Now that's roughly $40,000 more than what was raised last year. But the QU Fund supporters campus improvements. They plan to use that money basically to upgrade their technology as well as for more scholarships for students. Now the Vice President of Advancement says that the goal for QU Fund will increase each year. Now to donate, you can contact the Community Relations Office. Fall is officially here and the Midwest is out, and we'll find out the heat will come back to us. And we'll find out more on your full forecast right after this.
And while cleanup on the East Coast continues, one North Carolina crew spotted something fishy along an interstate. Find out what when we come back.
While cleanup from Hurricane Florence continues and residents are faced with even more flood damage,
North Carolina fire crews made a stunning discovery this week. Joining us now from the Weather Center is QUTV's Abigail Moore.
That's right. A North Carolina fire department was hosing down Interstate 40 when they first spotted the debris, dead fish, scattered all across the highway. This is just one example of the mess Hurricane Florence left behind. At least 40 people have died since Hurricane Florence slammed into the Carolinas. And officials warn although the rain has slowed down, the flooding danger is far from over. And we'll continue to follow the stories coming out of the Carolinas. But now, let's take a look at what our weather has in store for this weekend. We're going to be taking a look at our cool temperatures, our weekend forecast, and our 7-day outlook. It is 66 degrees outside right now, but it feels like 67 degrees. The humidity is at 42%, and our wind is coming from south-southwest at 9%. All of our temperatures here on our map right now are at 60 degrees, somewhere in the 60-degree area. Our highest on the map right now is Hannibal at 69 degrees, but you can tell that our temperatures are dropping, and you'll see why later. Right now, taking a look at our satellite radar, we have rain coming in from the north and rain coming in from the southeast, coming up to our tri-state area. Quincy is in the belly button of Illinois. You can see the rain hasn't hit us just yet, but if you take a look at our high pressure and low pressure system right here, we have a low pressure system coming up, and we also have a high pressure system coming in from the Midwest. So what this low pressure system does is it creates a hot, dry air. So hopefully we'll be seeing that more often. Although our temperatures are getting lower, that's because of the rain, but this is going to create a warm front and see. So these are going to be coming up through the tri-state area pretty soon. So our temperatures will be reflecting that. Our 3-day forecast is just the same as our 7-day forecast. Thursday coming in, Friday and Saturday. Saturday, we're going to be looking at PM storms, a high of 61, which is a lot lower than what we're going to be experiencing this next couple weeks. Sunday, we're looking at clear skies. Monday, partly cloudy. Tuesday, partly cloudy. And Wednesday, we're looking at clear skies as well. So our temperatures within the next week are not rainy, as you saw on the radar. Our low pressure system is going to create some pretty warm temperatures for us coming up, but no rain.
That sounds good. Thank you, Abigail.
And now coming up in sports, we'll tell you who tied for a university record her senior year.
And stay tuned to find out what kind of ride you may want to avoid. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Homecoming really highlighted some of the sports teams this year.
And while some athletes brought the heat and earned themselves Player of the Week, others earned the career high stat.
That's right, Adam. QU athletes excelled for homecoming week. But first, we'll show you some of the recaps. Women's soccer played Lewis University last Friday night. They had tough defense from both ends of the field, kept scores silent until the end of the first. Maddie Bauer scored her first goal of the season to give the Hawks a 1-0 lead over the Flyers heading into halftime. Hawks defense remained solid through the second half to keep the Flyers from scoring. Abby Polium took advantage of a breakaway to score the Hawks' second goal. A 2-0 lead wasn't big enough gap for Polium, so she found the back of the net once more. Lewis responded with a goal off the corner kick to cut to the lead 3-1, but there wasn't enough time to overcome the Hawks' lead. Hawks won 3-1 over the Flyers. Back at Legend Stadium on Sunday, the 23rd, women's soccer faced another GLVC school, Truman State Bulldogs. Both teams were evenly matched throughout the entire game, limiting any offensive opportunities. The Bulldogs had no success in their offensive third posting, 0 shots in the first 45 minutes of play. While the Hawks tailed 5 shots with 1 on goal, the Bulldogs came out stronger in the second half, taking 3 shots on goal but were unable to find the net. Emily Autry made 3 saves to keep the score tied at 0s before heading in overtime. Mary Maloney was fouled inside the box just a minute into overtime and was rewarded with a penalty kick. Foley took advantage and scored the only goal of the game, and the Hawks win 1-0 over the Bulldogs. Foley has 5 goals on the season and 2 off of penalty kick. QU senior Abby Polium was announced the GLVC Offensive Player of the Week for her success this past weekend. This is her second award for GLVC Offensive Player of the Week. The men's soccer team hosted Lewis University last Friday night, the 21st. The Hawks defeated the Flyers with a 3-1 with the 2 goals from the penalty kicks. Cooper Reese and Kingsford Udjay each scored off a penalty kick, while teammate Aubrey Reese scored a clean goal from 25 yards out. After this win, the Hawks moved into the GLVC for offensive outputs. The Hawks beat the Flyers 3-1. The men's soccer team evened out their scoring in Sunday's game with Truman State. The Hawks scored 2 goals in both halves, while their defense kept the Bulldogs silent. Hayden Tucker scored 1 goal, while Aubrey Reese scored 3 in his 11th of the season and Hawks' 3rd straight win. Reese also earned GLVC recognition once more for his efforts in offense. The midfielder won back-to-back GLVC Offensive Player of the Week. It was a tough test for the QU football team on homecoming weekend. The Hawks faced Davenport, a 3-0 team with one of the best defenses in the country. The Hawks trailed 13-3 at halftime. Then just over a minute into the 3rd quarter, Tyon Harris punched it from the 6 yards out to cut the Hawks' deficit to 13-10. Davenport scored 13 unanswered points in the final 19 minutes to seal the 26-10 victory. The Panthers held Harris to 11 of 25 passing yards with 75 yards and intercepted him twice. Harris ran 111 yards on 18 carries. The Hawks tailed 119 rushing yards on the #1 rushing defense in the country, which had only given up 20 yards per game. Coney Leonard had 13.5 tackles and 2.5 tackles for loss. Women's volleyball missed out on some of the action homecoming weekend. The Hawks traveled to Bellarmine for a close matchup. The Hawks lost 3 straight sets, but no more by 3 points. Sarah Brown led the team with 7 kills and 4 blocks, while Marissa Gonzalez led the team with 21 digs and 6 assists. During that game against Bellarmine, senior Marissa
Gonzalez reached 1,000 digs in her career at QU. She tied the record for second all-time digs in a single season after finishing with 599 digs in 2017. And that's a wrap for sports.
Now, there's plenty of different ways to get around town, but one of those forms of transportation could land you in the hospital.
We'll give you the details after the break. Don't go away. Electric scooters have been around for ages, but now these e-scooters could be causing a public health problem. Accidents happen every day, but doctors and lawyers are seeing an increase in emergency room patients suffering serious scooter-related injuries. And some people are pushing back, accusing e-scooter startups of putting profits over rider safety.
We're seeing all sorts of particularly egregious accidents occurring due to these devices themselves simply not holding up. Brakes not working and wheels falling off, just very basic stuff. I've already had one patient who suffered a severe traumatic brain injury.
An e-scooter rider can be hard to spot on the road. Last month in Cleveland, Ohio, a driver struck and killed a 21-year-old woman riding an e-scooter. The driver was under the influence and charged with homicide. While no official stats exist, some ERs say that they are seeing an increase in scooter-related injuries, with some patients requiring urgent surgery. Because e-scooters are so new, insurance policies may not even cover medical bills.
I think I'm just going to stick to walking to class after hearing that story.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, because we need you guys here. Well, thank you for joining us on QUTV News This Week. For Taylor and Abigail, I'm Quincy Feeney.
And I'm Adam Meyer. Tune in next Thursday to see how Q students help others in the community. Have a great weekend.